So I need to make an audio track for this video. What do you say we start? Okay, so what we have here is a Phantom with a hand cam on a gimbal on a retractable landing gear. Computer is running a program. What the hell is it called? No idea. But what it is it sets the yaw and the pitch and the 360. It's called a tuning. It's a tune. This is my tuning program. So I've already tuned it. But I'm going to give you some close-up shots of the tuning program and all the settings on it. Won't have any value for a lot of you guys, but some of you guys who want to look at what my numbers are. Cool. And the deal is that the numbers represent magnetic values, just so you know. When somebody's building a gimbal and you're doing things, you'll go, oh yeah, the strength of the magnets is what the numbers represent. And so I have a whole bunch of videos. It took me a while to get my tuning straight. Always takes time to do whatever you're doing. You gotta learn the programs, you gotta learn, fine-tune stuff. And so, okay. So I had it on pause, 11 seconds. And let's get started, shall we? So now I'm playing with pointing the camera down. And I'm zooming in so you can see the three circles that have like an instrument panel on it. And the bottom one is the pitch, which makes the camera, it's going to show you that the camera is pointing down or up. The center one is like the level, like elevation, meaning elevation. Now I'm looking up, and now I'm pointing it down. See, the arrow's turning. That's what you're looking at. Watching the bottom circle, it says pitch, and it's moving like a giant. And now I'm turning it around in 360 degrees. So the top one was just moving. So that's what you saw there for a second. I want you to see what's going on there, because now when I move the camera, you can glance over at the monitor to the side and see the movement of the pitch up and down. You see that. Okay. When I change the values, it changes the strength. And so now I'm straight down firm. And this is hard to do. Hard to get these settings right without a lot of practice. And it took me a long time to do it. That's cool. And I'm also doing a 360 degree spin. That's real important too. And there's a lot of reasons why this is real important. But to have the control on this thing look straight up and straight down is real important for a photographer, for the camera guy. Imagine this being in the air and you're just flying anywhere you want. You can look behind you, to the sides. You can look directly down. Very important. Not at an angle, but directly down. And you really can't see much. Now it's looking up. You can't see much facing up. It's just facing up. You're going to look at the bottom of the multi-rotor. And now you're looking at the light. The camera's kind of facing at the side light, the landing lights and the perimeter lights. A lot of things in this video I want to point out to you. So the LED lights got front and rear and then point straight down. So there are 3 lights in each of that locations. So I'm looking up, looking down. Pretty cool. Now you see the carbon fiber, panels on the side of the camera where the motors are mounted to. I manufactured this. You're going to have to manufacture this, because if you try to buy one, it's either going to be really, really expensive and not work for you, but you can go ahead and buy one, or you can look at mine and then you can try to figure out what I did, because nobody taught me, but I figured it out. And the secrets are right here in this video. And you don't know what you're looking at till I'll tell you what they are. But this thing is spinning 360 degrees over and over and over again, and you have a problem. you've got to count how many times you turn it around, because you're twisting those wires that are leading up towards the axis control board above the rubber grommets where the gimbal is up above. So you really got to be, the camera guy's got to be in control to know how many times he does a 360, because he will get himself in a knot up there. A lot to this. You know, when you own this, you're flying this, you're running this, it's a tool, it's not a toy. So now I'm zooming in, because I'm showing you these motors that I got. And I bought like 12 of these motors, because each one had different values, and they're made different. And what I'm trying to show you here right now is that the wires that are going to the camera are going through the motor, through the center of the motor. These are really special motors. Not only are they powerful enough to hold the weight of the camera, but they're designed with a hole in the center for those wires to go. And here you go again. Here's another motor with the same thing. You have to, you do it, you know, you're going to, this is the way it goes. This is the way it has to be made. Because you can't run the wires alongside or around the motor from the structure of the gimbal, because it doesn't work. You know, you do it, enjoy it, work it, and then I decided it was easier to buy another motor, very powerful, and make sure that it has the hole in the center of the motor, because I was smart enough to do this. So you'll see what I did. Look at it. It works like a charm. This is the best. So now, when I bring the camera back around again at some point, the wires that are going to the motor on the side of the camera are essentially the gyro motors that are the gyro wires on the bottom. We're going to see the gyro and after a little while. And what we're looking at right now is all the wires from the gyro and the Lanc. The Lanc control sends the video and the camera control signals, which we haven't talked about yet, over to the remote system, you know, to the remote control, so you can zoom the camera in, zoom it out, turn it on, turn it off, and that's what those wires are. So there's a whole bunch of crap going on here that I have engineered that you will need to figure out, but that's what that whole bunch of wires there, and I think there's like 9 or 12 of them total. And now I'm showing you how they go up the back, and then they go, there's a motor on the top. Come on, down a little bit. Come on, go down a little bit. And it has to go down and around the motor on the top and up through the center of that, up into this area where the rubber grommets are. This is the rubber grommet part up here on the top. It's called a gimbal. And I doubled this up. So when you look very carefully, there's 2 patterned 4 grommet carbon fiber brackets there, and I crossed them so that there was double as many rubber grommets, because I wanted to make the camera support strong and not vibrate during flight. And since this was such a friggin' short video, we're gonna go to a video that's of this unit, this gimbal, with that camera on it, separated from the retractors, and we're going to look at it. Cool. So I want you to see the motors. The motors are special, and I'll let you know what you're supposed to look for, because there's a designation for a motor with a hollow shaft. So you might want to look for hollow shaft motors. Yeah, I don't know. No, I can't remember, but I'll remember. And these are 3 different size motors, because the big one on the top is heavy duty to carry all of the weight of the camera and the gimbal, and the ones on the 2 axes are, as you can see, smaller, but they're right for the weight that's required for the camera. And we're looking at the 2 pieces that I said that I mated together, and I had to grind them out of the way. And so those are factory pieces. 2 pieces make 1. So I took 4 pieces and, intertwined them and put screws through them and made them 4. All right. And now we're looking at this is the The gyro's on the bottom down there where the wires are going to it. That's the gyroscope down there. It controls the yaw and the pitch and all the leveling of the camera itself, not of the quadcopter. Although I think this is just all for the gimbal control, because the multi-rotor has its own. Now we're looking at the Lanc cables, and the Lanc are going in the side of the camera. And then I have another video where I made the Lanc cables, because you got to buy a Lanc cable, and then you got to tear the hell out of it and resolder it, because these wires that you're seeing here are really lightweight and flexible versus the cables that come on the Lanc cable are regular RCA audio video heavy duty heavy cables, and we need something really super light in order to do the function of making the turns and not restrict or make the motor work really hard in order to make the turns. And now we're looking at the gimbal control board, and everything's labeled UART. That's what that says. I believe the UART is the cables that feed all the way down to the gyroscopic control. So these are brackets that I had to make so that everything works. It's really complicated. But it's fun as hell, because once you get on a roll and you master it, I just mass produce these things. The board that's in there is insane. In fact, there are two boards on this one. This is the weird one. When you buy things and you make things, they change stuff on you. So this is two separate boards. This is really weird, but it's cool because if you look, I made it, and they're really close together, and they're What am I looking at now? Oh, I'm looking at the Phantom upside down. Cool. I'm looking at the retractable gear, and that's where the batteries go. I put an extra elevation in there, level, for more batteries. Now we're looking at the driving lights and the down lights that are on the retractable gears, and I put down lights on the below the motors too. I just didn't get any color ones on here really. I wanted to make it UFO, but the big one I made UFO. So this has got two transmitters on it, and those are the cables for the power for the retractors. And I'm just kind of jumping. This is where the gimbal goes, and it's got the holes already in it. So that goes on there, and then the other half you put on after you bolt this thing together. Then you put the bottom half onto the rubber grommets, so you don't install it before you get it on it. So we're looking at half of it, and the other half is sitting right there. Now we're looking at it. I made so many of these things. That's a box full of motors. I'm going to show you smaller motors or bigger motors. I have no idea. And that's another structure that's sitting there with the blue tape on it. So these are the motors. Okay, I'm just showing you things. That's right. You can't bring the wires from one support to another and jump from support to support, because when you do your turns and your 90s and your up and downs, the wires have to be you've seen it. Got to be clean. So I'm just showing you what this motor is. So good, there's the part number. So an H stands for hollow, I guess. Hollow shaft. So this is another one I got together. When I start making this stuff, man, I start making them. I make 5 of them. So here's another one. There's another one. Oh my God! But they're all, once you master it, right? And see, these cables are like PWM cables from your remote control stuff, and they're fairly good. But I learned over the long run that they're not as good as ribbon cables from computers, from iDrives, You know those ribbon cables that you're throwing away, you've been throwing away for a long time? Or if you don't know what that is, ask somebody. They're iDrive ribbon cables for hard drives to the motherboard, and they come pretty long, and they're really, if you separate them, they're really small, they're really flexible, and you're not carrying any current here, so I would go to those instead of the ones I'm doing here, because sometimes I've had to splice them, but it's all good. It's all good. You really gotta do your own thing. You gotta figure out. But I do my own. I did this. I mastered this, man. Now I know exactly how to do everything, what my wires are, and I'm just trying to show you all of it. So you get a taste of this. You'll know. I'm really wanting you to see how these brackets are made. These carbon fibers, and then I took a piece of, like 16th inch by 1.5 by 1.5 stupid aluminum L angle. You're seeing it, you know what that is. And then this is before I had my really good grinding tools. Okay. One more like close-up video of the stupid of carbon fiber brackets for the gimbal that I made. And the camera mounts onto a bracket that I made that is a slide bracket. The slide bracket is because you're going to have to different cameras, and I got like 4 different kinds, but to disperse the weight appropriately so that it centers below that center motor, you have to make a slide bracket. So this one particular one that we're looking at, I just showed you the gyroscopic, and look at the closeness in there, man. It's really close. I'm just making shit. And so these carbon fiber brackets that I made, there's 3 pieces, and 2 of them bolt together, and the center one slides back and forth. And the center one is the one that's like mounted to the camera. So it's not confusing. You really have to figure out engineer this stuff, right? And you can. It's complicated, man, but it's fun. It's easy. It's fun once you do it. You learn, you teach yourself, and that's pretty crappy. It's not like what do they call it when they use the printers? They can cut them with the printers, but I don't have that, so I'm all good. I'm just making stuff. All right, I just want you to see this because there's a slide, then there's another slide down below it, and then the stationary one down below that. And these are all the stupid little spacer things that I gotta make, because you have to have such a variety so that when you change depths and spacers, you're not gonna buy these. You gotta buy a long one and cut it into small pieces. And now I'm gonna show you what the F. This is a WTF file, because you just gotta have shit. You gotta have stuff, because when you want to do something, it's not the time to start making this little box of crap or ordering this stuff. So whether it's pins or they're called DuPont connectors, I believe. And you need a spacer, you gotta have spacers, man. Carbon fiber, those are just bolts, right? But these are the ones with plastic in them, the locking ones. Gotta have locking ones too. And they're 3mm and can be 6mm, so you gotta have a little. Look at this. You've got to go to Alberto's restaurant and collect these little friggin' containers, because they are the best. And you have to have every friggin' length of screw. And I like to use the hex heads, and because that's what you need, is the hex heads. And I believe all this stuff is 3mm, but it could be 6. I'll have to remember. But the deal is that you need every different length, because you never know what you're going to run into, or where you have to stop everything you just did and go back and add a spacer, and then you need a screw that's a little bit longer. And you saw the example of that over when I was showing you the gyroscopic little thing that I put on there. And it was tight. Man, there's no playing going on there. So If you back this thing up and look at the gyroscope when you're ready to do your gyroscope, you're going to look really careful and you're going to go, oh, these things are bullet connectors for the power connectors, the brass looking ones. So you just gotta, and these are the DuPont male and female crimp-ons. Don't crimp them, solder them. Don't forget crimp them, solder them. Man, it's a lot of work after you crimp them and you pull the fitting apart and it pulls out. Solder these connectors. You're gonna have to learn how to do that. It's very delicate, and but you'll learn. You'll learn. No, you won't. Now this is the thing that holds the control panels above the gimbal, the ones that the yaw and the axis and the controls connect to through the top motor. And that's what I said. I was talking about. You got to make special brackets, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the one. I said there's 2 panels. That's the one. I don't know what the hell it's called, an axis, whatever. But that's kind of how it went. And then below the couplers, the couplers that are there is where the other one, the small board, went. There was 2 boards. So back it up and look at this location and the thing, and you'll see it had a small board and that big one, and that's where they went over each other. Oh my gosh. What am I doing here? You want to look at that one? Holy shit. That's the next one. This is my good one, man. I love this one. This is my monster. I'm not done with this one yet. That's pretty cool, man. This is a good one. This is my favorite. I have to practice on the little one. And when the motors are turned on, when the power is turned on, the motors have magnet and they hold 0, and I told you about the magnet strength earlier, and so that's what stops that thing from spinning around when you're flying. So you'll learn to go. What are you doing now? It's too dark. It's not lighting up, but there's nothing I can do. I'm not making any. I'm just wanting to get this on the technology channel. So you got a chance to see something